Pramila Jayapal, Congresswoman and head of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, had kind of an awkward little moment occur where it seems the Congressional Progressive Caucus sent a letter to the Biden administration, to Joe Biden, saying that we need to change the approach on Ukraine and push Ukraine into diplomacy with Russia. And instantly, Pramila Jayapal came out and said, oh, we're withdrawing that letter. Sorry, that was sent out by a staffer or something like that. And it was an awkward interaction, but it kind of highlights a little bit of the Ukraine-related political reality going on right now that is fascinating and needs to be paid more attention to. And what I mean by that is there's people in good faith saying, can we make sure that Ukraine is being diplomatic, but seeming to misunderstand the reality of the war right now, where if you're saying that the United States is doing something so wrong right now because we're just giving aid to them but not forcing them into diplomacy, it seems like you're missing the fact that Putin, since the very beginning, has made clear he's not interested at all in diplomacy. If you remember at the beginning, Zelensky's administration or government made clear we're open to peace talks. And they sent representatives to meet with Russian representatives, and there was no serious proposal put forward time and time again. So at this point, it's clear Putin is not interested in coming to some reasonable diplomatic solution. So I've made clear in a recent live stream, especially when we went through all of this and looked at different people and why they were wrong, that bringing that up, while I think it can come from a good place, is distracting from the reality of the situation in such a way that I think it's very counterproductive and an incorrect analysis on the situation where, oh, we need, we're doing something so wrong, we're just trying to fuel the war machine by chucking money at Ukraine, and that's what it's really about. No, in this situation, what we should be doing is actually exactly what we're doing, which is send as much aid as we can to try to help Ukraine stand strong. And then there's down the road conversations about, okay, if Ukraine's able to take back everything they had a year ago or whatever before this war started, how far are they going to go? Are they going to try to take back Crimea? What is it? That's a fair conversation to have. But when looking at the reality right now, it's a little odd or dishonest to pretend that there's some huge wrongdoing on the part of Ukraine or the United States in not being diplomatic when Putin is clearly not interested in that. So with that being said, here's the actual news that I'm reporting on. Reading from Mediaite, Politico reported on Tuesday that Representative Pramila Jayapal, the chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, quote, personally approved the release of a controversial letter on Monday calling for the Biden administration to alter its approach to Ukraine and negotiate with Russia. Jayapal withdrew the letter on Tuesday after a fierce backlash and blamed the letter's release on a staffer. So then here they show the statement made by chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, Pramila Jayapal, where she makes clear the reason. I think this is perfectly reasonable of an articulation from her, that they decided to withdraw the letter is because the way it was being perceived by the public or by other political figures was being kind of conflated, was the word she used, with Kevin McCarthy, House Minority Leader, head of the Republicans in the House, is recent actions or statements about how we may have to cut Ukraine aid, we may have to stop doing that if we get into the majority in the House. And she is feeling like, okay, while I do want the Biden administration to put diplomacy as the top priority, I also recognize it was kind of bad timing to put the statement out because it seems like I'm almost bolstering the message of Kevin McCarthy that we're going overboard with aid when that really isn't the reality. So interesting dynamic playing out there. I know some people on the left, a lot of people on the left, actually disagree with my take on this, even though usually we're on board with similar policy goals, and think that maybe we're overdoing it with Ukraine aid, whereas as I've articulated, this is one of those moments where we really gotta go as much as we possibly can to defend Ukraine in this situation. I've gotten into more details, won't do that here, but huge ramifications in the future based on how we act now. Interesting.